Gary and Wyatt, two high school students, have long wished to be popular with the girls if they weren't such awkward outcasts. One day, they have the bright idea of creating the ideal girl using a computer. They are successful, but the two boys are unaware of what their creation is capable of. Two adolescent boys are staring at a gymnasium full of high school girls. Gary Wallace, the blonde boy, fantasizes about throwing a big party with all the girls. Gary is slightly irritated when his friend, Wyatt Donnelly, reminds him of their outcast status. When two other boys, Max and Ian, humiliate them by pulling their gym shorts down, the two friends continue to daydream. Wyatt tries to say something as the girls stare in shock and disgust, but Gary drags him out of there. Gary later spends the night at Wyatt's house because the latter's parents are out of town. Gary is surprised to find his friend alone in the house, but Wyatt assures him that his older brother, Chet, will return soon. Gary is upset because he knows how mean Chet is. To Wyatt's surprise, Gary says while watching Frankenstein on TV that they should just make an actual girl. Gary explains that they can use Wyatt's computer software to simulate a girl, allowing them to ask it obscene questions in the name of research. Wyatt agrees, and he begins work on defining the characteristics of their simulation, but his computer's capabilities limit him. Gary persuades Wyatt to hack into a government computer system so they can collect more data to create their ideal girl. The two end up attaching jumper cables to a doll as their final touch after using various magazine clippings to customize their creation's physical appearance and intelligence. A brewing thunderstorm then electrifies Wyatt's home, causing all electronics inside to malfunction as Gary and Wyatt unplug everything to limit damage. Gary and Wyatt are left cowering from a bursting door after attempting to smash the computer and throwing out its other components. The door explodes, and a shapely woman dressed in skimpy clothes enters the room, much to the surprise of the two. Later, Gary and Wyatt are in the shower with their creation, staring at her while she speaks. She tells them to relax before exiting the shower, revealing that they are still dressed in pants and shoes. When their mismatched clothes transform into better-looking suits, Gary and Wyatt argue in confusion about what to do with the girl. The girl, who is already downstairs, smirks. Gary and Wyatt ask the girl if she stole the car as they drive to a party in a pink convertible. She denies this, claiming that she is free to do whatever she wants. She also requests a name from the two, and Gary suggests Lisa, prompting Wyatt to spill unsavory details about the name. To appease the two boys, the girl accepts the name Lisa and speeds away. They arrive at the candy bar, where Gary notices they are not supposed to be there because they are underage. Lisa hands Gary and Wyatt two forged driver's licenses to prove their age. She then tricks the two self-avowed outcasts into mingling around the place in order to feel at ease. Gary and Lisa find themselves at a table with a group of intimidating-looking men while Wyatt goes to the restroom. Gary attempts to relate to them awkwardly, but they press him to drink liquor instead. One of the men, Dino, asks Lisa, in an insulting tone, what she's doing with Gary, to which Lisa responds suggestively. Gary interrupts with a self-deprecating joke that makes the entire table laugh. Many years later, Gary, Wyatt, and Lisa are at ease with a group of men. Gary drunkenly retells a tragic story about a girl, eliciting sympathy from his newfound friends. Wyatt and Lisa carry Gary out of the bar after he slumps over the table, waving goodbye to the patrons. Lisa has Wyatt drive them in the car while Gary rambles drunkenly in the backseat. Lisa inquires as to what they intend to tell Chet about her, but Wyatt becomes distracted while attempting to think of an answer while driving. He repeatedly runs a red light and nearly causes an accident, much to Gary's chagrin. Lisa reminds Wyatt to think about Chet once more. When they arrive at Wyatt's house, Chet physically intimidates Wyatt for attempting to avoid paying a bribe. Wyatt agrees to a $175 bribe after Chet threatens to tell their parents. Following that, as Wyatt assists Gary up the stairs, they run into Chet, who insults them. Wyatt dismisses Gary's spittering about the girl they made, allowing Chet to make fun of their bad luck with girls. Lisa surprises Wyatt later that night by kissing him several times. Wyatt is initially perplexed, but allows Lisa to kiss him for a little longer. When Lisa asks what's on his mind, Wyatt says women's gymnastics, to which Lisa responds that she'll do her best. The next morning, Wyatt and Gary awake in a daze, wondering if everything that happened the night before, including Lisa, was a dream. Wyatt appears to believe they were just having a dream, but he gets out of bed wearing Lisa's underwear. Lisa summons them both downstairs for breakfast. While Lisa is preparing breakfast, she encourages Wyatt to stand up to Chet, claiming that it is affecting his virility. She walks out just as Chet enters the kitchen, and he smashes eggs in a pan with the tasty breakfast Lisa made for Wyatt. Chet notices Wyatt wearing the underwear and blackmails him again while Lisa eavesdrops angrily. When Wyatt asks Chet what he wants, Chet demands his VCR. Chet then removes his towel and hands it to Wyatt, instructing him to cover himself. Later, at the mall, Gary and Wyatt are smelling perfume in the perfume section when the attendant, Sue, makes fun of them. Gary and Wyatt smugly correct her, referring to Lisa in a more mature implication, because she can't believe they are shopping for their girlfriends. Meanwhile, Lisa goes shopping for sexier underwear, provoking the saleswoman with more daring questions. Max and Ian, accompanied by their girlfriends, eventually spot Gary and Wyatt sitting on a bench a floor below. Max dumps his slushy cup on the two boys below as the people around them laugh. Unimpressed, the two girls debate whether to dump Max and Ian or forgive them for their actions. After a phony display of remorse from their boyfriends, they decide on forgiveness. Max and Ian eventually come across Lisa on the escalator and double back to follow her as she catches every guy's eye along the way. Max and Ian try to flirt with an uninterested Lisa outside the mall, who says she's waiting for her ride. Gary and Wyatt arrive in a loud sports car, and Gary gets out to greet Lisa, receiving a kiss from her. Lisa gets into her car and drives away, inviting the silent bullies to a party at Wyatt's house that night. In the evening, Lisa tries to reassure Wyatt, who is concerned that his parents will find out about the party. Lisa claims she's doing her best to give Wyatt a memorable party as she manipulates the lights hands-free and changes clothes. Wyatt responds that he'd be happy to party anywhere except his house. Lisa dismisses his concerns and rushes off to pick up Gary. Gary's parents, Al and Lucy Wallace, comment on Lisa's maturity at the Wallace's home. Gary introduces his parents awkwardly, and Al asks where they are going. Lisa responds with a list of outrageously lewd activities she has planned for the party, which disgusts Gary's parents. Lisa defends Gary's excellent academic record and his right to party, claiming that tossing off to magazines is insufficient. This sparks a screaming match between Gary and Lucy, prompting Al to call the cops. However, when Lisa points a revolver at Al, he backs down with a nervous smile. Lisa apologizes to Gary and reveals that the revolver was just a toy on their way to Wyatt's house. Gary is still upset that Lisa's antics may have earned him long-term punishment, but she asks for his trust and states that his parents are unaware of what happened. Back at the Wallaces, Al appears to have forgotten who Gary is. Later, at the Donnellys, Lisa reassures an anxious Wyatt about inviting a few friends over for a party. When the doorbell rings, Lisa opens it to see what appears to be hundreds of teens clamoring for a party outside. As Wyatt collapses in shock, Gary waves wide-eyed. The partygoers pour into Wyatt's home, quickly depleting a spread of food on the table. While their girlfriends lag, Max and Ian arrive looking for the bar and notice Lisa handing out the caviar. Meanwhile, Gary and Wyatt are cooped up in the bathroom, lamenting their inability to enjoy the outside party. While relaxing at the bar, Max and Ian notice Lisa among the crowd and exchange flirtatious smiles. When Max and Ian's girlfriends discover Gary and Wyatt in the bathroom, they wonder if the house belongs to Lisa. When the girls ask to use the bathroom, they realize it's Wyatt's house, and the two boys bluff about constantly being at parties. Gary lets them in, admitting that he and Wyatt know the names of the girls, Hilly and Deb. When the girls inquire about Lisa, Gary responds that she is with them. Meanwhile, despite Max and Ian's insults, Lisa asserts unequivocally that she belongs to Gary and Wyatt. When Lisa says she'll do whatever her creators want, the two bullies exchange sly looks. Hilly and Deb excuse themselves for a moment in the bathroom while Gary and Wyatt huddle in the shower stall. The boys agree to make advances on the girls but keep Lisa in mind if they don't succeed. When they look out of the stall, they see two different girls waving at them. Hilly and Deb run into Lisa downstairs, who asks if they've met Gary and Wyatt. To the girls' surprise, the two girls awkwardly confirm they did, and Lisa builds up the two boys in a suggestive way. Wyatt's grandparents, Henry and Carmen, decide to pay him a visit at the house in a restaurant, assuming he's there alone. Max and Ian pretended to be sorry in Wyatt's room in order to persuade Gary and Wyatt to lend them Lisa. Gary and Wyatt initially refuse, citing their deep devotion to Lisa, but Max and Ian counter with Hilly and Deb. Soon after, Gary and Wyatt assist Max and Ian in creating their own virtual girl, once again hacking into the government system. Lisa notices something strange outside and rushes back to the house as a thunderstorm approaches. As the computer simulation malfunctions again, the house experiences a variety of strange phenomena, causing chaos at the party. While Max and Ian are concerned about the tumultuous creation process, Gary and Wyatt sit back and wait patiently for the outcome. When the chaos subsides, they notice a girl standing in the red-tinged doorway once more. Lisa, it turns out, is the one who lectures Gary and Wyatt about staying true to themselves rather than trying to be big shots. She also points out that they forgot to connect the doll when the jumper cables make contact with a magazine image of a missile. Then, from beneath the house, a full-size ballistic missile erupts into Wyatt's room and out the roof. Just as Henry and Carmen arrive to find the house party in full swing, Wyatt freaks out about having a missile in his bedroom. Following that, Lisa notices Henry and Carmen making their way through the party and attempts to be friendly. When the elderly couple notices the state of the house, they threaten to call the police, prompting Lisa to excuse herself. To Gary and Wyatt's surprise, Lisa summons Wyatt downstairs for his grandparents. The two boys dash down to the kitchen, where Lisa shows them Henry and Carmen, smiling and seemingly frozen in time, in a closet. Lisa decides that the boys need a challenge to bring out their courage and inner strength as Gary and Wyatt leave. Two mutant bikers slam into the house, causing chaos and intimidating the partygoers. Max and Ian hide behind the bar, terrified of the intruders, and decide to abandon Hilly and Deb. One of the bikers causes Gary to fall down the stairs as he attempts to climb them, and Wyatt rushes up to him, terrified of the bikers in the house. Just then, more mutant gangsters burst through the door, forcing Gary and Wyatt to flee, walking through the terrified crowd, and letting out inhuman screams. Lisa discovers Gary and Wyatt hiding in a closet, refusing to come out and deal with the mutants. Lisa argues that it's an opportunity for them to show their bravery, but the boys slam the closet door in her face. As the boys debate the weight of shame versus death, a mutant pulls Wyatt from the closet, followed by Gary, who has been slammed into the wall with a friend. One mutant, armed with a shotgun, mocks Gary and Wyatt in front of the crowd. The mutants seize Deb and Hilly and begin to harm them. Gary and Wyatt muster their courage and approach the mutants, hurling insults and ordering the intruders to leave. As Wyatt prees the shotgun from the mutant holding Deb, Gary pulls out a revolver. Wyatt returns the shotgun to one of the mutants as they prepare to leave in a surprisingly civil manner. Gary brags to Wyatt about their accomplishment after they've left, while carelessly waving the revolver around. Wyatt demands to know where Gary obtained a gun, so Gary claims it's a toy and shoots down a chandelier before realizing he's in possession of a real firearm. Hilly and Deb look admiringly at the boys, while Lisa proudly watches them. Hilly approaches Wyatt that night, the house now devoid of partygoers. To Wyatt's delight, she admires his bravery and asks him to kiss her. Deb is also concerned with Gary about her inferiority to Lisa. Gary assures her that Lisa is more like a sister to him and chooses Deb as his companion. Deb kisses Gary after that. The next morning, Chet arrives to find the house in shambles and finds it snowing in his room. Chet is enraged when he walks into Wyatt's room and finds only Gary sleeping with Deb. He points his gun at the two teenagers while Gary shields Deb. Chet then shoots another room's door and captures Wyatt with Hilly. Chet grabs Wyatt by the collar and threatens him verbally, prompting Wyatt to bribe his brother with money once more. Later, downstairs, Chet chastises Lisa for telling the 14s the same wild story about her creation and the subsequent party. He also panics when he discovers Henry and Carmen still frozen in the closet. Lisa tells Gary and Wyatt that they should take the girls home while she deals with Chet. The teenagers depart, and Lisa confronts Chet about being disrespectful to Wyatt and Gary and remaining silent about everything that occurred over the weekend. She also instructs Chet to show the boys dignity and respect. Chet continues to be rude and challenges Lisa, to which she responds threateningly. Gary is driving Deb in a Ferrari when he passes a police cruiser. When the cops give chase, Gary speeds away, skidding through the streets thanks to the car's superior horsepower. They barely make it across the railroad before being cut off by a passing train. In another scene, Hilly kisses Wyatt goodbye. Wyatt declares his love for Hilly among the sprinklers as she walks back to her house. Gary is walking Deb to her house around the same time when he confesses to all his pretenses, wanting Deb to like him for who he is. Deb reciprocates the affection with a kiss. Chet has been transformed into a talking mutant blob in the Donnellys' kitchen. Lisa promises to return Chet to normal if he promises to leave Wyatt and Gary alone. He agrees, and Lisa tells him that the effect will fade over time. Gary and Wyatt drive back to the Donnellys' house in their sports cars, debating whether Lisa would understand what they are saying. The two cars vanish into thin air as they walk inside. In between burps, the two boys run into mutant Chet, who apologizes to Wyatt and admits his love for his brother. Wyatt and Gary then find Lisa getting ready upstairs, where they begin their conversation. Lisa is way ahead of them, ecstatic that her boys have found girls they adore and who adore them back. She admits to being hurt, but all she ever wanted was to see them resolved. Lisa hugs them both goodbye and exits through the doorway she came in through, disappearing in a puff of smoke. Wyatt's parents exit their taxi just as the missile retracts back to the ground, and the house repairs itself. Chet also reverts to human form as his parents enter the room. Wyatt and Gary greet them downstairs, and when Wyatt's parents inquire about their weekend activities, the two boys give a lukewarm response. The following morning, several boys are treated to the presence of their new gym teacher, Lisa, at Shermer High School. She issues a command, and all of the boys fall to the ground.